To Stand Up Memories, another episode. I'm Peter Bales. Right there is Jackie the Joke Man Martling.
Woo!
And right there is Danny McKenna, the legendary manager of Rascals Comedy Club, the place for comedy in the 80s and 90s in West Orange, New Jersey. Every comic came through there.
And they all still rave about it. When I run into people, and so often people say, what's your favorite place to work? And you work a lot of places, and a lot of clubs and theaters are great, and blah blah blah. But that big rectangular box with 400 people in it was heaven on earth.
Patty Rousborough said, you had the low ceilings, you had the audience right there in front of you. If you were hitting
seating,
it just popped.
It popped. It did.
seating.
It popped. The acoustics were perfect. The low ceiling is necessary for a comedy club. What a terrific place!
And they were relatively behaved.
Everybody who goes to a comedy club practically thinks it's always smooth, everything's smooth. Danny, I was there sometimes. You were always there when things went wrong.
Oh, yeah?
I was at a show there opening for a soap opera star where it can't go more wrong than this. Walt Willey was from what show? What was that? General Hospital?
General Hospital, or just one of those soap opera shows.
I remember when that first happened, when the soap opera star infiltration. I'm like,
still going.
Talk about
still
a
going.
prop comic.
Linda Rowe is still doing it.
Oh yeah,
Linda Rowe
probably
books
doing
these.
better than any of us.
And they will get a 90% female audience, and the 400-seat room was packed, and I was enjoying myself. I was the opening act. I went up and I had a great time, and I got a note from Danny to keep going. No explanation, just keep going. And I kept going, and I was up over 30, and then I got a note, take a break, and say we'll be coming back in a few minutes with Walt. Willie, take a break, and you never take a break at a comedy show because it breaks all the momentum.
You got my interest peaked here.
Okay, take a break.
Unbelievable.
And Danny can pick it up here because I got off stage and I said to Danny, "What's going on?" And you said,
"Let me take my guesses before you say." Either he was in the back room with a girl and her husband caught them, or he didn't show up, or he was passed out drunk, or he was lost.
No, he was still filming at General Hospital in the city, and they weren't letting him off the set until they kept rolling until they ended.
Wow.
Okay? And Roger Paul was his manager back then, and he's sitting in the green room and said he's not coming. And I'm looking at Roger Paul going, "You're a dead man. Do you understand me? You're a dead man." I go, I didn't say it to him, but my mind was going, I don't care if you got to get a helicopter into New York and into West Orange.
Get that man
You're
here.
bringing him here. I got 400 women that just paid a lot of money and had dinner. You better get him here. And of all people, Mark was calm. Mark was going.
Mark the owner was calm.
Coming.
Danny was pretty freaked.
So I piped the system into Walt Willey on the telephone, telling the woman out in the audience that he's sorry, he's not going to be there. But they're laughing, thinking it's comedy. He's going to pop out.
Right, he's going to pop. Oh.
And I got on the phone with him. I go, they're not believing you. You're going to have to tell them again. And next thing you know, they turn, and then we go to.
Yeah, Danny says you got to go back up there.
And tell them.
Tell them because they think it's this phone call is a joke, and he's backstage. So I had to go up and say, no, this is real. He's really not going to be here. You're going to get your money back. But
did you say the good news is I'm not going to do my 30 minutes again?
Actually,
show was over, man. That was it.
I'll never forget this. As long as I live, I gave them the bad news, and there was lots of oohing, and it was very uncomfortable. I got off the stage, started walking toward the back, and a 300-pound angry woman grabbed me by the lapels, pulled me into her face, and said, "I am going to beat the shit out of you." Blaming me.
Listen,
I'm still not recovered.
When that whole thing just started, there was a place that I recorded my album Hot Dogs and Donuts there, and I made so much money. It was called the Comedy Palace. It was not a palace. They had one of those roll-up signs. It would be tonight, Jackie the Joke Man Martling, roast beef. I was co-headlining roast beef. And it was like a place that they had weddings, whatever. But it was huge, and they had a lot of rooms, and it was really. And I loved the guy Ron, and I worked the smaller room, but it was like 350 people, and made so much money, and he made so much money, and the audience was crazy great. But in the bigger room, they had just started that crap where they'd have like 4 soap opera people.
Yeah.
And he said, Jackie, you would not believe these soap opera shows. He said, I literally have to take some seats out because the women are so huge and fat. I know I'm not supposed to say fat, plump,
Zoftig.
these big pigs. He said, I had to take seats out because these women were so huge. And he said, when they pull in the parking lot, you can look out and see them taking off their wedding rings and putting it in the glove compartment. So, I mean, he said, it's just not believable.
Girls used to come up to me during seating, okay, and literally, not without exactly saying it, but saying, I'll do anything you want for a closer seat. She'll take me in the back room right now just for a closer seat.
And how many times did you?
I was like, I just couldn't do. One girl, she was sitting like directly in the front. She was hyperventilating in front of the guy. And I had to go up to her and go, ma'am, you can't be sitting there doing this. I got to take you out of
And
here.
here's everybody
You know?
breaking their balls their whole lives to come up with a decent act. And these guys are
And at the
Well-
same time, comedy tickets were only about $20. We got $60 a head
Wow.
for these people. And it sold out faster than Dice or Kennison.
I had a
shows.
woman hyperventilate in front of my show, right?
Yeah,
down
sure,
one time.
sure.
But it turned out it was a heart attack.
Yeah.
It wasn't. She wasn't impressed.
It was real. Yeah.
It was real. I love at Rascals. The show must go on, and this moment is frozen in time. I swear this is true. I was on stage for 15 people
Okay.
when I heard the cheers upstairs from the television when Bill Buckner let a baseball
Yeah.
go through his legs,
Right.
and the Mets pulled out that playoff game. And
Bells took a bow.
I was virtually alone, and people ran upstairs to see what was going on, and it was just.
What was even funnier than that, we had a show going on when OJ was driving the car down the highway. And 200 people from the room, instead of watching the comedy show, went to watch the TVs upstairs.
I know it was on
Wow.
TV, and I don't know whether I can't remember whether it was before I went on or after I went on. But all the people were at the bar because that car chase lasted a
Yes.
long time.
Yes,
You know,
at 30 miles an hour. What was there to see?
The show
You
must
know?
go on.
you know.
What did
I
you do?
mean, the whole thing with Will Smith. People are like, oh, he had one bad day. I'm like, well, so did OJ.
Yeah.
You know, one bad day.
Did you actually have times when the headliner didn't show up? What do you do when there's 400 people? Headliner is late. The headliner is drunk. I mean, you must have seen everything.
Yeah, I mean,
I had small shows where Otto just didn't show.
well,
But
that
you
was
learn
after.
pretty quick to make sure that the other guys have enough, you know.
You know, Otto didn't work at Rascals for quite some time, like never, because of the stories of him not showing. We couldn't take that chance.
Otto and George, the legendary ventriloquist, the late Otto and George, the comedian's comedian. People still talk about him, but he was not exactly reliable.
No, but when
His
we
act
did,
was so dirty, but the fact he was so dirty isn't why he didn't get booked more. It was because he was too undependable. And me and him always bonded because we were the ones that were too dirty to work. But I had in my favor that I showed up, you know. Sometimes the audience, it was questionable whether they was glad I was there or not, but at least I was there.
no, but when we finally did book him, every show that we ever booked, he never hurt us once, never. He worked there on a regular basis, and we usually use him like on a Wednesday night, and still sell up to 300 tickets on a
Yes.
Wednesday night.
Yes.
You know,
What a character.
yeah.
You guys were brilliant with Jackie Mason. You used to.
Oh, well,
You would open a Jackie Mason show on a Tuesday. That would sell out. Then you'd go to Wednesday and go all the way.
he would do Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesdays. Okay, but here's talk about taping a show. He used to want me to tape his show also. Okay, and listen to what he did to me one night, and I wanted to kill this guy.
It's a big club.
I'm taping every single show, and when he walks past me in the hallway after the show's over, I take the tape. I go, "You want the tape?" He goes, "No, I don't want it." Now this happened.
This is audio tape.
Yeah, it was on a cassette. I used to tape every show that he did. So one night, the machines broke down. Now, mind you, I've taped 10 or 15 shows at this point and went to hand him the tape every single time. And he goes, no thanks,
But
I
this
don't
is
want
for
it.
his own perusal, not
Correct.
not for any.
No. And I'd go to hand him the tape, and he'd go, no, I don't want it. So all of a sudden, he's there one night, and my tape deck broke down. And he comes to me 10 minutes before the show, and he says, you taping the show? And I said, no, Jackie, my tape deck broke down. I can't tape tonight. What do you mean you can't tape tonight? He says, my machines broke down. And he walks back into the green room, and he takes a seat, and he goes, I'm not going on. I'm not going on. He's serious. There's 400 people in the room. It's 10 minutes away from showtime. And he never used an opener. He just went up there cold all the time.
Right.
And he's going, I'm not going on. This guy going, and he's dead serious. He is not going on because I can't record the show.
So what happened?
I had to take a bouncer who lived close by, and the bouncer ran down to his house and got one of those little handheld recorders.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I taped the whole album.
But is that nerve coming from that guy or
you know.
what? I mean, and prior to this, I never had a bad rapport with him whatsoever.
There's no story I could hear about him that I wouldn't believe. You know, he saw that I was making an album at the East Side, and he said he wanted. And I said, hey, we could do an album for you, and we did a whole album with him. And I recorded an album and cut it up and produced it and everything, and then whoever was putting in the money, whatever happened, it just didn't go anywhere. I mean, I still have it. It was called Election 80, and it was about Carter, recorded at the East Side, which is, Jackie Mason's stuff was always his act with whatever flavor inserted. You know, either his stand-up, his one-man Broadway show, or Election 80 or whatever, and always funny and always great. But he was so odd, you know, and he was swarthy.
Well, listen to what he did to me one night. There was a problem where his manager definitely messed up, okay? And she's trying to blame me. This is going on in front of Jackie.
Like the date or the money?
No, it was a tape that I was supposed to have playing during seating, okay? And she's telling me that she told me about the tape she wanted to play. And I says, no, you didn't. You asked me to send you a copy of a tape, which I sent you a copy of the tape. Now Jackie's listening to all this, and she's trying to save her own ass.
Right.
And putting me in the bad spot.
Yeah.
And I don't like the fact that she's lying, because she's lying to save her own ass. And I said, no, it didn't happen that way, right? Now this is going on, and the show's starting soon. I go, you know something, McKenna, just be the fall guy.
Right,
just be the fall guy.
My fault.
So I said to the manager, I went, you're right, it's my fault. And Mason looks at me and goes, so now you're telling me you're a liar? I was like, you can't win. You're not going to win.
He was joking, or was he serious?
No, he was serious.
He was serious.
He was serious. Now you're telling me you're a liar?
Now, we probably did this story already on this show, but when he wanted to do that Election 80, we decided we're going to help him write some stuff. And so me and Barry Mitchell and Minavini and I think some other guys went to his apartment on Park Avenue. He was on the second floor. And we're sitting there, and we were in this for 10 minutes as comics. And we're writing with Jackie Mason, which is a pinch me moment on any level. And he's sitting in a chair, and we're sitting there, and I came up with some line or some joke. We're pitching, you know, spitballing. And I said something, and he said, you just thought of that? You just thought of that? I said, yeah, we're sitting there coming. He said, that joke, that was your idea right now? You just thought of that in your head? I'm like, yeah. He goes, you, my friend, are a genius. You are a genius. And I can still remember sitting there going, I'm in this 6 months and Jackie Mason's called me a genius. Yeah. You, my friend, are a genius. That's unbelievable. That's such a great joke. You are a genius. And I'm so full of myself. He says, I think we should get something to eat. We'll go to the deli. Come on, let's go. We get up and the elevator is an old building, so it's got the lattice that you pull back and the door opens and you get in, and the elevator operator. And he closes the lattice and closes the door and pushes the button and takes us down to the first floor. And as the door opens, Mason turns the elevator operator and says, you just brought us down here from up there. You, my friend, are a genius.
How great is that?
Wow.
How great is that? How great is that? So, how nice was it to work with Pat Cooper?
That was a pisser. He was a sharp guy. And I got a really funny story about him.
He's still sharp as a tack.
There was a country club in the area that was always offering $2,000 to have a comic on their comedy night during the summer. They weren't asking for anybody's name. They were just they were giving $2,000.
Right.
Okay, and I used to get the best guys. Gavin, I got to do it. You know, all these people I got to do it year after year. And one day I just called Cooper and I go, Pat, you want to do this thing? It's $2,000 on a Thursday night. You cross the river. I'm Pat Cooper. I'm on the Howard Stern show. What do you mean $2,000? I go, Pat, they're not asking for you. I'm asking you, do you want $2,000
Do you
to
want to
cross
fill
the
the
river?
space?
Yeah.
I don't, who wouldn't take $2,000 on a Thursday night?
Right.
And he's screaming at me, going, I'm Pat Cooper. You know how much money I get? He says, 4,000 check or 3,000 cash. I go, it's only 2,000, Pat. That's all it is.
Take it
We
or leave
want to leave it. Now, he calls me the next day. So what's the score? What's the story with that gig? Right.
Right.
And I'm like, it's 2,000, but I'm Pat Cooper. Here we go again, right? So all
But
of a
he
sudden-
called you.
Yes, he called me, and then he goes, "Oh, I'm just looking at my calendar." He goes, "I'm working in Pennsylvania that night." Right? He goes, "Oh, I can't even do it." He goes, "I'll tell you what, though." He goes, "They're going to give me a check for 4,000. If you give me 3,000 cash, I'll cancel them to you." It was just a country club gig, is all it was, you know. But no, he was fun to work with, though.
Super nice.
He was a pleasure.
Backstage.
Yeah.
Couldn't have been nicer.
Yeah.
Pat Cooper.
And he was such a wild man on the Stern Show.
He's
Everybody
still
thought he
alive,
was-
right?
Huh?
Yes.
He's still alive, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Funny stories about him. But he would go so nuts on the Stern Show, and everybody was like a little frightened, but he'd look over at me and Fred, and he'd wink.
Yeah.
You know, because he was, it's
Yeah,
like,
he knew. Yeah.
I'm breaking chops here, but he like, great act and the energy, he's like 93, but I think he's going to live to be 150. Like comes from
The Bob Hope.
bricklayer stock, Italian bricklayer stock.
He just loves what he's doing every single day. That'll make you live
And
longer.
had a famous falling out with Frank Sinatra, correct?
Yeah, with everybody,
Well, he also, I think it talked about it on Howard a lot. His kids tried to sue him for using, when Pat Cooper used to talk about his comedy,
about
he used
his
to-
family.
family.
That was
Yeah.
a whole
And his
crazy.
kids tried suing him because
Wow.
they got used in his act.
Which
And
is that's just his life,
But the thing was that Pat actually said on Stern, he goes, it had nothing to do with my kids, really. I'm just telling a comedy story and using kids as material.
Right.
It wasn't about
They
them
were
whatsoever.
fishing,
Absolutely,
But a lot of
absolutely.
weird stuff went down. He wound up, alienating his entire family, or vice versa, depending how you look at it.
Basically, he told a story where when they got divorced back when, which is a long time ago, the wife pitted the kids against him.
Okay.
He used to send letters and everything to the kids, and she'd rip them up and throw them in the garbage, never gave them to the kids.
Wow.
It sounds weird, but
Wow.
I know so many people, the father sent Christmas gifts
Yeah.
to the kids,
Yeah.
and the wife would throw them in the garbage
Yeah.
and say, I guess your father forgot about you.
Yeah.
Hell
I-
hath no fury.
I love that he was winking at you. He's going crazy on Stern, but he's winking at you to let you know.
To
I
let
know
me and
what
Fred
I'm doing.
know, right. And me and Fred would laugh from the.
I'll tell you the
second walk in.
historical parallel of that. I'm sorry, here comes the history. Patton used to go crazy in front of his men, and his adjutant said to him, his assistant said to him, "Do you really mean that? Are you really going crazy like that?" And Patton essentially said, "It's not important that they know. It's important that I know." Same thing.
Well, I did it with
Right,
Louis
right.
Black. Me and Louis Black were at the bar drinking downstairs. Everybody was gone except the waitresses. And some fired waitresses wound up coming in. And I went completely berserk. I mean, out of my mind. They shouldn't even be coming in the building. And they come downstairs to hang with the other waitresses. And it's me and Louis Black just hanging at the bar having some drinks. And I go completely out of my mind, completely losing, screaming, yelling, "Get the fuck out of here." And as soon as I was done, I walked over to Louis. I went, "Louis, you need another drink?" And he's like this, "Danny, what was that?" I go, "What was what?" He goes, "Did you just have a mental breakdown?"
I think
It's just business.
I think a lot of comics would compare you to Patton when you were policing a room, without a doubt. Oh, I want to hear so much more about stuff that went on, stuff that went wrong, stuff people said. These were stand-up memories. Perfect way to describe it. This has been a terrific show. This has been Danny McKenna from Rascals Comedy Club in New Jersey, and of course, Jackie the Joke Man Martling. I'm Peter Bales. We're going to do more of this. So
And a shout out to the owners of Rascals Comedy Club, the Flying Magnuson brothers, who were all amazing.
they were. And we'll see you next week. Hey, a new episode of Stand Up Memories every Wednesday.
How exciting is that?
Starring me, Peter Bales, and right here, Jackie the Joke Man Martling.
Please follow us on social media. Search it out. What is it? Me Space?
MySpace,
Your Space?
TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
Doodah, doodah.